Chapter 16. Stakeout. Once Hermione and Harry had settled in the minister's office, Harry cast the Muffliato charm and sealed the door and windows. He took a seat beside Hermione. "I have good news and troubling news," he began. "We know what Rowle is going to be doing a week on Wednesday." "You mean the 23rd? Hermione asked for clarification. "That's right," Harry confirmed, and continued. "We also know where he's going to be. Unfortunately, well, it's Malfoy Manor." "What? How could they?" Hermione began. "How do you read this, Harry?" Kingsley asked. Harry scowled. "Rowle certainly knows where it is. It was Voldemort's headquarters back in the war. They couldn't use the manor without Draco knowing. That implies that they are either going to attack him and take it over, they are blackmailing or threatening him, or that Draco is a willing ally." "Draco is not in on this," Hermione insisted. "I refuse to believe that." "I don't believe it, but I have to consider it," Harry countered. "It does Draco a disservice if I don't. How can I prove his innocence if I can't disprove his guilt, at least to myself?" "How could he be on Rowle's side, Harry?" she protested. "After everything he's done to help us." "Snape did it with Voldemort," Harry pointed out. "He helped Voldemort, or appeared to. He even killed Dumbledore. We believed Snape was Voldemort's man until we had evidence that proved he wasn't." "Snape was—" Hermione began. "A great occlumens? An intelligent man?" Harry finished. "So is Draco. You know his occlumency was how he survived his time with Voldemort." "He helped us put his father in prison," Hermione objected. Harry sighed. "His father left him to die, Hermione. Helping us send his father to Azkaban could just be personal. And everyone is expendable to them. Even Aloria Rakison." "What is this, Harry?" Kingsley asked. "Oh yeah," Harry mumbled. Ambrose told me Aloria was dead. I should tell Costas. I've been busy." "Let me contact Costas for you," Kingsley said. "He must be unaware. I am sure he would have let us know." "I think it's more likely Draco is not involved," said Hermione, returning to the subject. "So do I," Harry assured her. "But making assumptions can get people killed. Anyway, we still have to be careful. If Draco is being threatened in some way, we could endanger him or his family if we approach him. And if Rowle is just going to turn up at Malfoy Manor, we need to protect Draco and his family. In short, I need to assign auras to investigating the Malfoys, to see whether we're arresting or protecting." "Which brings us to another problem we have," Kingsley noted. "How big a team are we going to need, and where do we get the people?" Harry sat forward. "We know from experience of the one ritual we witnessed that there will be at least a dozen, probably nearer 20 present. Rowle now has his little family of vampires as well. There were about 8 of them in the Reddish house. I expect at least half of them, possibly all of them, will be at Malfoy Manor. And I don't need to remind you, Kingsley, that vampires can be tricky. I've heard about some of your experiences with them." "Yes," Kingsley agreed. "A combination of wizarding folk and vampires will be especially difficult. We found the most effective— well, I will brief you later." Harry nodded, then remembered something. "Oh, and Ambrose tells me that Rowle is a day walker. Just another added complication. From the way the others were roosting in the dark in Reddish, I don't think they're the same. But Rowle must be expecting more fights. If old magic can make him a day walker, it wouldn't surprise me if he's trying to find a way to make the rest of his new family immune to sunlight." "It depends on Rowle's relationship with the other vampires," Hermione noted. "He might want to keep that extra power to himself. If these other vampires are a family and have been around for a long time, they must be intelligent and close-knit to survive. Rowle is cunning enough to know that they could be a threat to him." Harry shrugged. "I see the sense in what you're saying, Hermione, but we have to prepare for the worst. This next confrontation is looking like it's our last chance to stop Rowle. If we don't break this core of his organisation, he'll have a chance to wipe out the Aura office in one fight."
"The whole Aura office?"
Hermione gasped.
"You're going to commit all your people?"
Harry fixed his gaze on her. "No, Hermione. I'm going to commit all of my people, and as many of yours as have the skills we need."
"But—"
Hermione spluttered. "Hermione," the minister broke in, "it has to be this way. We cannot keep sending in small teams and risking lives to no effect. We must break Rowle and his band of barbarians decisively. Otherwise, we will have betrayed the sacrifice and memory of Tembe Savage, and of Judy, Anya, Mo, and Gary." "We need to outnumber them, Hermione," Harry continued. "This is no mob of common criminals. It's not a case where one Aura is a match for 5 of them. This is going to be a battle of equals. If we go in with the same numbers as they have, it will be a bloodbath. Only if we seriously outnumber them do we have a chance of saving lives and making arrests. If they get the upper hand, they won't show any mercy. They will wipe us out." "Harry is right, Hermione," Kingsley confirmed. "As Minister for Magic, I am ordering you to provide Harry with every officer you have who possesses the skills to help. We have a week to get them all working together. I cannot overemphasize the importance of this. It is only by sheer luck that we did not lose Harry and his entire team at the Reddish House." "The more I suffer, the luckier I seem to get," Harry muttered to himself. Harry and his Auras had spent a week selecting and training enforcement officers for this mission. Now the time had come for them to see how effective the training had been. Many Auras had started out resenting the wooden tops, as they called them. They expected them to be more of a liability than an asset. Harry had pointed out that the officers were volunteering for a job which had recently killed 5 experienced Auras. After this reminder, their attitudes changed. A few days into working with the eager officers, the Auras regarded them as welcome reinforcements. If nothing else, this operation had brought the Auras and the Enforcers closer together. Harry and Dennis had decided that it was pointless trying to supply the 40 witches and wizards with indifference drafts. A group that size could not pass unnoticed. It didn't matter if an observer was indifferent about who the individuals were. Anyway, there was no time to make more of the potion. The stocks Dennis had would have given less than 5 minutes of cover each. They would do without. At Hermione's insistence, Harry had put 4 of his trainees into the Aura's office area to provide cover during the operation. There would still be incidents to deal with. Harry had left Ricky Sharp in charge of the trainee Auras. St. Mungo's had discharged him after treating him for vampiric infection. Harry wanted to give him time off after the horror of the attack in the Reddish House massacre, as the Auras had taken to calling it. As the trainees needed an experienced Aura in case of problems, Harry had relented. Ricky certainly looked the part of an experienced Aura now. Wounds inflicted by a vampire were difficult to cure, and he had many scars. Ricky became a legend to the trainee Auras. It pleased Harry to see Ricky's spirits lifted. Now that the day had arrived, Harry apparated to a wood near the manor. He put on his invisibility cloak and walked across the cold, hard fields behind the house. Stopping at the hedge which surrounded the gardens, he then followed it round until he found 2 Auras. They were there following Harry's orders to watch any comings and goings at the property. He took the cloak off a few meters away and crept up to them. "Hi, boss," Perry McIntosh greeted him in a whisper without turning round. "Supersensory charm, Mac?" Harry guessed. Mac nodded, not realizing it was getting dark. "Yeah, it doesn't last like the solution you gave us, but it gives you a feel for what's going on all around you." "Any action?" Harry asked in a low tone. "The Malfoys are home, apart from the Professor. No visitors yet," Callum Fawley reported. "They're expecting Draco home this evening," Harry told them. I made discreet inquiries with friends at Hogwarts. It's a little unusual midweek. Do you think he's gone back to dark wizardry, boss? Mac asked. Harry thought. No, can't see it. He's a friend. All my senses tell me he's a good man. He's helped us a lot and put himself in real danger doing so. But then, all my friends tell me I'm too trusting. We'll just have to observe and follow the evidence. They lay in the long grass near the hedge for over an hour. It was wet. It was cold. So early in the year, even this far south, it would be fully dark before Draco was likely to return home. They talked for a while, just as long as Harry's Muffliato charm persisted. After that, they sat in silence. Movement, boss, Mac said. Someone arriving at the front door. A visitor for the Professor, I'd guess. What now? Asked Callum. Moving closer. Protect the family. They've let their visitor in, willingly, it would seem, Harry observed. We'll see what happens. If the Malfoys are in on this, Rowle and his people may be about to arrive. Look, boss. More of them apparating on the lawns. Okay, this is it, said Harry. You keep watch and track their positions. I'll go back and get the team to move into place. Watch out for vampires. They can be tricky. With that, Harry disapparated. Well, Cal, Aura McIntosh said. Keep an eye out. Apparently vampires can be tricky. Yeah, Callum grunted. Who'd have thought? Harry split his task force into 4 teams of 10. There were 23 remaining Auras, including Harry, and 16 retrained enforcers. To lead one of the teams, they had brought back a retired Aura. Hermione had tried to prevent it, but once she had told Ron what was happening, he had insisted. It had delighted Harry to see Ron back in the office. By the following day, though, Harry was feeling guilty at putting his old friend in danger yet again. The 4 teams approached Malfoy Manor from different directions. Harry's team had collected Auras McIntosh and Fawley on the way in. Before we all go in, Harry said as their team arrived where Mac and Cal were keeping a lookout, I want to see what's happening with Professor Malfoy and his family. Harry and Mac left the rest of the team behind the hedge, while the 2 of them slipped through. Under the cover of Mac's disillusionment charm, they made their way across the lawns. They came to the wing of the manor where Harry knew the family's living quarters were. Most of the rooms there were lit and their curtains were open. It took only a moment to find Draco and the visitor they had seen enter. They were standing in Draco's study, talking. To Harry, they looked at ease with each other. Harry felt his stomach sink. At that moment, Harry's ribs buzzed. It was the replicating scroll he had brought to keep in touch with the leaders of the other teams. It read, Weasley to all. Vampires seen entering. Be on guard. Harry, see me. Harry swore under his breath. Mac, he whispered, have to go. I'll send you some help. Get the Malfoys to safety, arrest the visitor, and hold the Professor for questioning. Then get the team back in place in that room with lookouts. Meet you there. With that, Harry disapparated to where Ron's team were waiting for the signal to go in. Harry sought out Ron. Harry, Ron greeted him. Needed to know how many vampires we're expecting. He spoke in a low voice. His team was not far behind him, shivering in the cold and damp. It occurred to Harry that Ron might not want them to hear him discussing vampires. There were about half a dozen, maybe 8 at Reddish, Harry murmured. Why? Ron smiled. My guys counted 6, plus Rowle. Wanted to make sure they were all inside. Didn't want to turn around and find a dozen more behind us. Vampires can be a bit tricky to deal with, you know. Huh, Harry scoffed. No, Ron, didn't know that. Tell me more. Ron grimaced. Yeah, sorry, mate. Anyway, it looks like they're all inside. All of Rowle's mob. When do we go in? I have to get back to my team first, Harry told him. They're getting the family to safety. Draco's being held for questioning.
Really?
Ron asked.
He had a visitor,
Harry said. Might have been a Death Eater. Don't really suspect him, I'm just playing safe. You know, I had always thought you were taking a risk with Draco, Ron observed. Harry narrowed his eyes. Yeah, I know what you've always thought about Draco. I was going to say, Ron clarified, that it'd surprise me if he turned out to be hazy after all this time. Pleasantly surprised, though, Harry suggested. Ron thought for a moment. No, actually. I've had my doubts about him. I finally got over it. I like the idea he could redeem himself. It's a sign of hope for us all, really. Harry smiled and put his hand on his old friend's shoulder. Got to get back to my team, Ron. Once we're assembled, I'll give you all the signal to move in. Look after each other. Harry tried to disapparate. Nothing happened. Looks like Rowle's suppressing travel again, Harry said to Ron. Let the other team leaders know. I'll have to hoof it back to my lot. Glad I brought the cloak. See you soon.